If someone tells you you can build a land flipping business with $0, they're technically right, but they're leaving out the part that matters most. I've bought and sold millions of dollars worth of land over the last 6 years, and I'm gonna tell you exactly how much you need to start and why starting with little may be costing you more in the long run. And my answer is probably gonna make both sides angry. Now, I've seen people start a land flipping business with $500. I've seen people start a business with $100,000, and I've seen both sides fail. So the question isn't about how much money do I need to start. The real question is, which game are we trying to play? Now, typically when we come into the land space, we fall into one of three categories. Now, the first category is somebody who just wants to make a little bit of income on the side. They're okay making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year. Now, the second person getting into this business wants to replace their 9-to-5 income. So they need to make a decent amount of money to replace that 9-to-5 grind that they're currently in. And the third person coming into this business wants to go and build a multi-7 or 8-figure business. So whether you fall into bucket A, B, or C is gonna require different amounts of capital. If you wanted to go build a 7 or 8-figure business, you better have the capital to back it up. You can't expect to build that business off marketing $500 a month. Or if you fall into the category of trying to leave your 9-to-5 and replace your income, well, don't take advice from somebody who's only doing $60,000 a year. We need to have our expectations set for the amount of money that we want to make in this space, for the amount of money we need to allocate towards our marketing. But if you're asking me for one number, I recommend $10,000. Now, I don't think that any of the money that we spend starting our land flipping business should actually go towards buying the land. When we start our land flipping business, all of our lots should be purchased by a funder, and the money we put towards the business should be allocated towards marketing and marketing alone. Now, I would fully expect us to get a deal or 2 or 3 deals within that first $10,000 of marketing budget, but it can take some time for these deals to sell. So while we're waiting for our deals to sell, we want to be able to continue marketing. Now, in the land space, if we're using direct mail as our reference, it takes about 4,000 letters to get one deal. Well, 4,000 letters is gonna cost us about $2,400, right? One piece of direct mail costs about 60 cents. So for every 4,000 letters we send, it's gonna cost us about $2,400. So if we're starting with a budget of $10,000, we don't expect to go through that $10,000 before getting our first deal. We wanna get our first deal in the first 60 or 90 days, but it can take time for that deal to sell. And you don't want your business to pause or completely stop if we're waiting on that property to sell. We want to continue marketing consistently every single month to get more deals in the door. Then we can fill our pipeline with deals that'll sell. So we don't want to completely stop our business if we have too small of a budget while we're waiting for our first or second deal to sell. So the biggest risk if we have a small budget is that we don't leave ourselves a long enough runway to actually continue building the business. Or what I see a lot of people do is we enter this scarcity mindset where if we only start with a few $1,000s, we're scared to send the money out of marketing. Or if we send 1,000 letters or 2,000 letters and we don't get a deal, it's hard to go and send another 2,000 letters when we know that's the only way to get deals. But if we operate out of this scarcity mindset with a small budget, we tend to stop marketing and maybe think this doesn't work, when in reality, you didn't stick it out long enough. So if we can allocate something like $10,000 towards the business, even though we may not fully expect to use all 10,000, we can treat it like a business. And we can allocate a certain amount every single month towards our marketing. And as deals sell, we can throw that money back into the business and grow our marketing from there. But if we start with a really small budget and we use 50% of our budget in the first month or 2 months, it's hard to keep going. So we don't need a budget in our land business to actually purchase land or fully expect to use it all. It's to give ourselves the runway to continue marketing as our deals sell. Now, is there a world where you can start with $0? Absolutely, right? You can do anything for free, but you're gonna trade time for the lack of money. Right, so if you wanted to go and cold call sellers from your personal phone number, you can do that. Go look up on a county GIS record. It's gonna have who owns the lot. It'll have their mailing address. You can go to a website like truepeoplesearch.com and get their contact info. And from your personal phone, pick up the phone, call them, see if they wanna sell. It's just gonna take a heck of a lot of time to get your business off the ground and running if that's the route we wanna go. out. So by starting with a decent budget, we can scale our business faster. It doesn't mean that we have to have a budget to start, but if you wanted to treat this like a real business and not just a side hustle, it's important that we do have a substantial amount of money set aside to actually start and grow the business. Now, I don't recommend doing this for most people. It's a very difficult way to start the business. If we're gonna jump into the land flipping space, I recommend we fully jump in and we treat it like a business, not a side gig. If we treat it like a side gig and we cold call a couple people here and a couple people there, it's almost a guaranteed way it's gonna fail and it'll never actually get the legs to keep running. So we wanna treat it like a real business. Dedicate some money towards marketing so we can mail consistently, or if you wanna send texting or cold calls, whatever it is, we need to be consistent to get the business off the ground. So just because it's possible to build this business with $0 doesn't mean it's the smartest thing to do. Now let's talk about why more money helps, right? And it helps in two different aspects. First of all, if we can come into the space with a few $100,000 and we can avoid using funders for our deals, right? If we get a deal under contract at $50,000, if we don't want to send it to a funder and we have the capital to purchase it ourselves, well, that's an extra 20 to 30% that we're going to keep when that property sells, right? Because if we use a funder on a deal, we're gonna have to pay the funder out when it sells a profit of the spread. So if we're able to purchase it with our own capital, that's an additional 20 to 30% of that profit that we're gonna keep ourselves. Now, the second aspect of why it's helpful to have more money is we can scale faster, right? If we come in with a budget of $100,000, we can send out 10 times the amount of direct mail that we could coming in with a budget of $10,000. So the more money we can allocate towards marketing, the more deals we're gonna get, right? The land business is a direct response business. The more letters you send, the more calls we get, the more deals we get. The more text messages or the more cold calls you send, the more leads you get, the more deals you're gonna do. So if you have a budget of $100,000 or even $50,000, you're gonna do 5 or 10 times that of somebody coming in with $10,000. So if we have a bigger budget, we're gonna scale a lot faster, we're gonna grow a much bigger business. Now, money doesn't just buy land, it buys momentum when we're starting this business. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that beginners make when they start a land flipping business, if they come in with, let's say, a $5,000 or $6,000 budget, we don't properly allocate it over something like a 6-month span. Right? Because the biggest thing in this land space is consistency. So what I see a lot of beginners do is they take their budget and they spend it all month 1 or month 2, and now we're out of capital and we didn't fully know how to market or how to price our mailers or how to talk to sellers, and we just wasted all of our money on our marketing. And now we're out of money and we have no runway left to build our business. So what I'd rather do is if we're coming in with something like $10,000, spread it out over 6 months and stick to a consistent marketing plan over those 6 months. If it's 2,000 mailers a month or 5,000 mailers a month, whatever it is, stick to that marketing plan over the next 6 months rather than spending it all month 1 or month 2. Because we're gonna learn how to talk to sellers consistently each month. We're gonna learn how to price offers. We're gonna learn how to find good markets to mail to. So if we spend it all month 1, month 2, before we're 100% confident, we're 100% experts in the business, it's gonna be wasted money. So if we come in with whatever budget we're gonna start, I'd rather see us spread it out over a 4 or 6 month span and stick to that marketing plan. Now, if I were to completely start my business over tomorrow, here's exactly how I would do it with different amounts of money starting. If I had $2,000 to start the business, I'd go and partner with somebody else. I'd find another land investor, see if I can work his leads for him and take a cut of the deals. If I had $5,000, I'd save until I could get a $10,000 budget to start the business on my own. If I had $10,000, I would fully commit to marketing and I would be consistent across each month for my marketing plan. If I had $50,000, I would start to buy small deals myself to save that spread of giving it to funders, and I would scale my marketing as I go. And if I had over $100,000 to start my business with, I would start my business a lot faster, I would scale faster, and I would buy as many deals as I can instead of sending them to funders. So everybody asks, what's the minimum it takes to start this business? But that's the wrong question to be asking. It's how much do we need to give ourselves a fair chance at building a successful land flipping business? Because what I see most often in this space and why businesses fail is not necessarily because the operators weren't capable. It's because they didn't start with enough of a budget to give themselves the highest chance of success. So by starting with a minimum of $10,000, we're gonna give ourselves a much higher chance of success than coming and starting this business with $2,000 or $3,000. So can you start this land flipping business with no money? Absolutely. Would I? Probably not. Now, if your goal is to start a land flipping business and something that lasts, something that can replace your 9-to-5 income, rather than spending the last few $1,000s you have and hoping that it works, I'd rather save a little bit of money so we can give ourselves the best chance of success when we start our business. Now, if you're currently running a land flipping business, I would love to hear from you how much you started. Throw it in the comments. It might help other people out. If you're interested in starting a land flipping business, head on over to landflippingsimplified.com. You can book a call and I'll hop on personally and see if we can help you out. Until then, I'll see you on the next video.